everyone, and welcome back on CG Blast YouTube channel. So today I wanted to make this video for you guys to show the 5 key elements that for me are the basics that all the animator should know about, uh, tools or approaches that for me have been really important since I started my career in animation. So we'll cover this few tips and tools that are important from my point of view, and I'm sure that many others will agree with me. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that as an animator we need to know is that the tool that first of all must be used is basically the camera staging, because thanks to the camera we can basically decide how our animation where our animation will be built. So basically in this case I have here my camera with the resolution gate on, so that basically I can see where is my character. I have this ball with a tail. This is Taylor from Animation Mentor. And so in this case, as you can see, the first thing that I wanted to do is to stage the character. I have a nice simple animation of Taylor jumping. So it's a simple animation I wanted to do, and as you can see, the first thing that I did, uh, the first thing that I did in this animation was to build, a staging for the camera, so that the camera would be, in this position, and the character will be like, more on the side left screen. That it's more like, when you stage something, you don't want to have a character like complete center, like in this way. Let me grab it here for a second. Like here, it's not really appealing. But when you have something, more on the right, but in this case, it's, the way that I've staged the character is more like pleasing, if to the eye, if it's, staged with in this way. You can feel it. So basically, this is the first thing that an animator should do while before starting animation. And usually once the character and the camera are staged, all the rest will come on. So that's the first thing, the camera staging. The second thing that we're going to be covering now is the keys of a character. So basically every keyframe animation is made by keyframed applied to a character. So in this case, by selecting all the controls here of this rig, you can see that there are some ticks in red here in the timeline. This animation right now is in step mode because this is the first keys that I put in to, think about in time. I decided to put the keys in this ways so that I could, understand a little bit the timing. So all the poses are moving. All the controls are moving in the same time, posing the character in order to give the sense of what I wanted to do. In this case, Taylor is, in step mode, in blocking, let's say like this, and it's jumping. You can feel it. So basically, the first thing that we need to know, that many animators do, is once they start applying keys, the most common way is to have them all in stepped mode. So the way that it's more easy to do is to go into the preferences, go into animation, and set here clamped and stepped. This is usually the way that I do as a setup. And so by doing this and having auto key on, which is this little guy here, okay, and now it's on. Basically, every time that I'm gonna change something, let's say that I want to put, a value more like here in the tail, you can see that in this frame at 11, it's gonna go and affect the rig only in that keyframe, so that it's not gonna be affecting all the others. Different is if we start our animation and always keep uh, the keys in spline, or maybe we have the animation in step mode and then we go here, select all the keys in the timeline, right click, we go to tangents, and we go to spline. So by doing this, we can see that now we're not just seeing the pose active in that frame, but we also see Maya that it's, calculating mathematically how to, reach one pose to another by, with math. So it's not really appealing 99% of the time, because Maya doesn't knows where and how to apply the 12 principles of animation. So it's something that we need to give the sense of it. By learning animation, we need to tell Maya, okay, we need to do this, so let's do it, in this way. So in this case, you can see that if we play the animation, it's not really, all the information that we still need to put. Many breakdowns and in-betweens are not there. But in this case, the keys are in spline, and it's not really giving much the sense of what we want, because we didn't put yet many informations into the timeline. So it's better to stay here and continue into step mode, which is the most common way to animate and give the sense of timing to your animation. Another little tip that I want to share you guys is a simple way to have your character in rig and controls always easy to select. For instance, in this case, every time that I need to select all the character here, I need to go here and select it, maybe put a key where I need to put it, and go on. Or maybe if I need to select just the tail, I go here and select manually all the controls, and then I go there and put my informations into my animation. But one easy way to do it with the built-in Maya tools is by creating selection sets. So an easy way to do it in this case is to first of all creating a shelf, which is making things more organized. Going to new shelf and putting the name of the shelf that you want. So in this case, I can type Taylor, okay, but I already have it here, so I'm not gonna do it again. And so you're gonna have a shelf here where you can insert your selection sets. So in this case, I already have two selection sets, which are the Taylor, or they're not working right now, but we can do it again. So let's delete these two for a second. So by selecting all the character first, we go to create, sets, and quick selection sets. So by doing this, I can name like all Taylor, okay? And I click add to shelf. So I have here this little button that every time that I click, all the character will be selected. Cool, isn't it? So this is a really easy and super fast way to do things, especially when you have uh, a lot of characters in a shot, multi-controls. So having selection sets is really important. So for instance here, I can go and just create a selection sets on the tail. So I select all the controls of the tail, go to create, select, and type in Taylor, oops, oops. Taylor tail. Okay, I go here at the shelf, and so now every time that I select just the tail, it's here. And this is a really quick way to have everything under control. And so if maybe you have also eyes or mouth or whatever, you don't need to go there every time and create, and select by hand manually every time everything. So by doing this, you have a shelf for your character and all the selection sets that you need and that you want. Another important tool that I've found really helpful in this, especially in the few years that I started learning animation better, was actually understanding how to use Twin Machine. Twin Machine is a tool that doesn't come out with Maya, but it's an easy tool that you can install. There are a lot of videos into YouTube on how to install it, and this is really uh, for me, one of the best tools that you can use for creating in-betweens and breakdowns into your animation. So for instance, if we have here our ball, our Taylor rig, so I have here everything selected, and I want to, put an in-between into the shot or maybe a breakdown. I can go to the frame that I want, and with this little guy here, I can say, okay, I want at frame 4 that the pose is favoring more the one that I have here on frame 2 instead of frame 5. Okay, so if I go here on frame 4 and I put this little guy more on the, let's say on the left, you can see that the more I go on the left, it's favoring what's on frame 2. Okay, and so this is a thing really helpful when you get to animation, not just in blocking, but also into spline. I'll show you another example of it. So at the moment, we're back into the blocking stage of the character. And so as you can see, everything is on step mode. So if I want to use Twin Machine in this case, and for instance, I want to make everything here come a little bit faster, and I want this pose come a little bit earlier, but not exactly this pose, but a pose that's near this one, so that I can always have a little bit of, movement and ease in and he's out of the character. So basically, if I select all the character and I go here to frame 4 and I bring this little guy more on the right, not totally on the right, because on default you have it on here. So let's bring it a little bit on the right, not totally, but you know, almost there. So you can see that now this pose is favoring more what we have on frame 7, right? So it's like coming faster because we're not more on frame 7, but we're on frame 4, and everything is gonna go and be a little bit faster, as you can see, right? And so this is an important tool for me using Twin Machine. Uh, Also by having, in this case, I want to start having an idea from this pose to the other one, going a little bit in the midway, and say, okay, I want to make it like faster here, okay? So I push it again a little bit more on the right, just a little bit more. Okay, so boom, you see that everything comes out faster, and there's this little ease that goes into this pose, right? So if you see everything right now, it's more pleasing having this two pose that we added to the animation. This is a really helpful way. Of course, in many animation, also in this one, you can go there and say, okay, I added this pose with Twin Machine, but I want to push this pose more, push it this way, you know, for instance. Uh, so you can play around and of course see what's better for you. But using Twin Machine for me is really, really important. So I hope you guys can take the time to try to learn it and see how it works. One another important thing about Twin Machine is that by going into the options and going into right here, putting overshoot, you can basically create those appealing overshoots to an animation that helps, like pushing a pose a little bit further and then coming back. So in this case, I can think about pushing maybe this pose like let me see what's better. Yeah, like this pose, for instance, I wanna go and push it a little bit more. So the pose it's on 7, and I'm gonna put the frame on 9. So I go back here and I push it a little bit further. You can see, so that's now squashing more the pose on frame 9. So this is really important. We're not all the way, but if we just follow and click in these guys here, we're not gonna always have the the kind of result that we're looking for. Okay, so especially here by having the default key that we selected here, it's still tending to favor the pose on 16. So we go here and we push it back more. See, yeah, so now it's pushing more, and so now we're having a more squash. And of course, we need to pay attention also to the timing now that we have done this adjustment to see if it works having this pose more, like on frame 8 or maybe on frame 10 or 12 or later on. So this is a thing that while animating, we can learn training our eye to see how to favor which pose instead of another. One of the most common tools into Maya for animation is the graph editor. So the graph editor is basically the tool that all the animators use to help making your animation more fluid and soft. So by using all the curves from all the controls and the tangent into the tool itself. So to give you a little bit more an idea of it, let's go here and select the main control of just the ball here that brings everything forward. We also have the squash and stretch control, you can see here. And so let's go into the translate Y, which is the up and down. And so you can see here that around frame, it's written here, frame 14, the ball is actually going up. So, and this is the tangent, let's just pull it out a little bit so you can see it better. So basically here, as we can see through the all animation, there's no up and down. The only up and down that's happening is in the squash and stretch. So you can see that the value here from 0 goes to negative whatever to negative 3 whatever. And so you can see that there is all the tangents here are representing what's going on into the animation. So basically this is a tool that is really important to see how things are moving. So for instance here there's a big change, a snap, and it's because we're starting from having this ease into this other pose, and then boom, it changes the shape, right? So this is an important thing to understand, that the graph editor is really helpful. And most of the times, when we go there, for instance, into the graph editor, and we select the TY of this ball here, basically what we want to have is to have smooth um, tangents and keys. So for instance here, everything is already splined a little bit, but of course we can do something more to make it more polished. But for instance, if we have something like, this goes a lot into the principles of, of animation, having timing, spacing, arcs, and whatever. So it's really important to know the principles of animation first. You can check into the descriptions. I will put the link to one of the tutorials that I created for how to apply the 12 principles of animation into one shot, like this one. So basically here, if we had like into the curves a pose like one of the keys here that goes down, that we first see that everything starts going up, and then instantly we see this curve going down. and then up again, of course there's something strange in it. So you want to go and check out if that actually the animation is going correctly. So basically, in this case, if we play the animation now, we can feel, let's put out the NURBS curve. We go here, yeah, we feel something wrong, right? That something is going, maybe we can just feel it if we don't have our eye trained. And so if we go into the tangent here in the graph editor and we see this tangent here, basically we see that, you know, everything should be going up. Instead it's going down here, then goes up again. So we take our key and we just bring it up again, you know, and so when we play our animation, yeah, now is much better, right? So this is an easy little things for, especially for the junior animators who are approaching uh, this job of, this art of animation. And the graph editor is really important tool. Most of the times things should be really soft and fluid into it. uh, so into the graph editor, one of the important things to take care of is, like in this case, I haven't polished yet much this shot, but it's just a demo. There are different things that we need to take care of while we are using the graph editor. And so in this case, uh, there are tools like this one, the break tangent. So breaking the tangent is something that we want to do in in part of our animation when we need to drastically make a change into a tangent. So for instance, in this case, the ball is coming up, right? And we want to give more a sense of a drastic change to this key. So instead of selecting the key and rotating everything up, to make more a linear effect, more drastic change, we can go here, select the key, and go to break tangent. So by doing this, if we select this part of the tangent here on the right, we can see that only this part of the tangent is moving, is not affecting the other one, right? So if we go back, you can see that now both of the tangents, right and left, are moving. So in this case, what we want to do is have, with our break tangent tool applied to this key, we just want to affect this one and bring up this guy here and have it more, you know, uh, make a more drastic change. The same thing we can do and is applying the same principle. This is this other one, and bring the tangent up, so that now in the animation, if we play it, we can maybe, if we have our eye trained a little bit more, we can feel a little bit more the change of it. But this is a nice tool that you can use every time, not in this particular cases. So I hope you can enjoy it and try it and see how it goes. Another important tool to take care of is having your tangents in a weighted state. So basically, what does it mean is, most of the time we want to have our keys that can be more free to use, not just by moving them, but let's say like scaling them. And I'll show you what I mean. If we select the tangent here, we right click and we go to weighted tangent, we can see that the aspect of our keys has changed a little bit. There are some little boxes at the end of the sections here of the tangent, and that means that we can model a little bit more our key, so that, for instance, we cannot just go and rotate our key like that, but we also can scale it. You see, something that we couldn't do before. And this is a thing that really is helpful when you want to go in really pretty detailed, or maybe in this case, you don't want to use two keys, but you want to have just one key to have this upper part. So you can maybe delete one of those, put this one right here, and if you can see, it's not the same effect as before. So we can go here and give a sense of the shape that we had before just by scaling one of them and putting it more on the center. So this is a really a pleasant way to make things organized and sometimes even simple. The last tool that I want to cover is the editable motion trail. So the motion trail is something that really helps animator to give the sense of spacing and the arcs that are really important while animating a character. So an easy way to do it is by selecting the control of the rig that you are animating and you're polishing or whatever, and going to the animation shelf and click motion trail. So by doing this, you can see that this line has been created into your viewport, and it basically represents the track of your animation. So you can, if you can see here, if we hide the select the NURBS, uh, the you know the trail becomes red when the path has already been uh, passed by your control. So in this case, we are here, and so the line red stops in here and then goes back becoming blue. So you can see that this is a pretty good way to, in this case, you can see that there's not a good arc into your shot. So a good way to do it is make it maybe, having your animation, you maybe go here and frame by frame, and you go here and change it. Oops, let's turn out a key on and change it a little bit. Okay, you see, and so basically in this case it should be automatically redoing. Let's put this one out a little bit more, or maybe, you know what, let's also affect this one. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, whatever are the changes that we do, uh, the curve is rebuilt and redrawn into Maya. So this is a good way to know what things are doing and what are happening. And so in this case, of course, it's good to have a shape like this, that's favoring a little bit more, like trying to have a sense, even if you need to go frame by frame most of the times, but it's good to have a sense of of arcs, slow ins and slow out. So in many places, like this one here, for instance, then we can keep this shape here, then goes back up again. You can play around with it, and of course, the more you can get in having a nice, smooth arc, uh, and the best way is for, the result of your final animation. So creating motion trails for me is really important, and so in this case, it's just a demonstration, and it's how to show you guys tools that for me are really important to get into, in depth of, a shot and how to animate it and the best way possible to make it appealing, smooth, and well polished for your production. So I hope you guys found this tutorial interesting and helpful for your career in animation. If you have any doubts or any questions, feel free to contact me in private, or leave a comment at the end of this video. Check out the informations into the description of the video. In order to keep up with the news, subscribe, put a like to this video. Hope to hear you soon. Thanks for watching and take care. Ciao.